Well, hello again. I am trying to throw out another video, a part two of what we talked about, answering some of your questions. But I've got even more questions now, and we're going to take a deep dive. Okay, so again, I want to catch up on some of your comments and let you know, look, the longer I deep dive into this, the more questions I'm coming up with. So let me respond to a few things, and then we're going to talk about that magic bullet, okay? Because there is something that doesn't sit right with me. All right, let's go to your comments. I appreciate y'all so much. I just want you to know that. Okay. Let's take a look at this one by William. I think it's Tyree, or maybe it's Tyre. I don't know. Anyway, he says, blood doesn't show up as red on a pair of jeans or a navy blue jacket. Any hunter's wife can tell you that from doing their laundry. I don't think a person driving by, even at 30 miles per hour, would be able to know it was blood, in my opinion. Same, William. I know this from nursing. I'm wearing a navy blue scrubs, which I do a lot. Like, you really can't tell. Blood is going to just be a dark spot. It could be mud. It could be grease. It could be anything. And here is my problem with it. The only way you could say you could say mud if there's mud stuck on the, outside of the clothes, but you can't say blood, can't say muddy and bloody unless the blood is somewhere, on the face, on the hands, or something like that. And, on skin you could tell, but that's even iffy, especially if it's mixed with mud. You don't know. So I have to call into question, and I think everybody else is going to also, can you say he was muddy or bloody? And then here is the second part of this. Okay, playing devil's advocate. But let's say I'm the woman that sees somebody walking. I'm driving slow. I see somebody walk in and they're muddy and bloody. All right, that's going to stand out to me. But then, at that point, you don't know that anything wrong has happened. You don't know there's been a crime committed. But you kind of make a mental note. Gee, wonder what happened to that guy. Yeah, I would. And so, muddy and bloody, almost, doesn't it seem like, I know if I saw somebody muddy and bloody, I would call. If I didn't feel safe to call, to stop and say, hey, do you need help? You don't know. Was he in a car accident? Why didn't you call somebody and say, hey, there's a guy that looks like he might be injured or something walking down the road? Okay, so maybe you don't think of doing that. But the day after, when they find the bodies, and then you immediately go back to that and think, hey, I saw somebody with that description like this, very suspicious. Okay, so they gave that statement to law enforcement, but you live in a microscopic town. Would you not always be looking for someone? Same as the witnesses on the bridge. We're going to get into that. But let's just say for right now, the witness on the bridge, okay, now, after the murders, you realize you could have seen the perpetrator. If he's walking by and they give you this intense look, you say hi and they don't say anything, that would stick out in your mind. And then you find out that some children were murdered on that bridge or just off that bridge. The next day, you would always be going back in your mind. Why? Who was the person? I'm thinking, who was that? Let me look around town. Let me keep my eyes open because I could have seen the perpetrator. And you're telling me in 6 years, in this microscopic town, in a CVS that probably you have been to, you didn't look over and see this short guy that could have been the guy. It's just too much, but we're going to get into some of that. But yeah, the muddy and bloody, you can't say that unless it was on his face. And then again, I'm going to question, why do you call somebody then? He could have been hurt. If I see somebody walking down the street and I know, that I probably wouldn't stop, but I sure as heck would get on the phone and call dispatch, call the 911 and say, hey, I don't know if this is anything, but this guy looks like he could be hurt or something's wrong. Something has happened. Accident, whatever. You don't know. So that is my point. Okay. Be Right Back says, I've had to describe a suspect before. I gave them my best guesstimate. I was way, way off. This is why they've started putting up measurements at the doors of convenience stores, etc., because the general public never seems to get the height and weight right. I mean, that's true. I'm looking down here. Here's the thing, too. I loved this. The end part of this says, most people don't really pay attention to random strangers walking by if you don't know anything is wrong. Absolutely. You don't. So now you're having to go back. Now you find out there's a murder and you're thinking, I was on that bridge yesterday and I remember seeing a guy. Oh my gosh. Let me try to remember what he looked like. I can tell you, I wouldn't know. I could say something general, like I saw, I remember, a young couple. I remember some kids. I would only remember what they're wearing if it was distinctive, okay? If somebody, I could say, I saw Liberty German because she was wearing a tie-dyed shirt, okay? That stands out. You're probably going to notice it. Yeah, I saw some kids and I think one of them was wearing tie-dye. The standard uniform of Indiana, we've talked about this, like it is so common for blue jeans and a dark blue or black jacket. That is nondescript. That is somebody that would blend in with everybody else in Indiana. So, I think the prosecution's going to have a field day with this. I'm just saying, I know y'all aren't happy about it, but it's nondescript. Now, if you could say he was wearing a bright red jacket and he was acting really weird, that would be a something. In my opinion, that is a nothing right now. Okay, Summer Bright said, I agree with you that the published images or the photos don't look like him. That is the red flag in my opening. Yeah, because it's not that, in my opinion, it's not that they don't look at all like Richard Allen. It's just they don't look enough like him. There's no distinctive picture. It literally could be anybody. So again, let's go back to this. There is nothing different there's nothing that stands out about Bridge Guy except for his gait. Okay? That walk is distinctive. We talked about how Shane Evans has a similar walk. Not saying Shane Evans is the perpetrator. I don't know. But what you should be looking for, okay, if you're in Indiana in these last couple of years where we've had Bridge Guy out, you can't tell what he looks like. But once you saw that video, what you should have been looking for is people who have that walk, because they can't disguise it. No matter what. They can try for a little bit, but they're not going to be able to disguise that walk. That gait is distinctive. So, that is my opinion on that. And, I'm not sure some of everything wasn't fabricated. Let me just throw this in here. We talked about police deception a little bit. I don't think I touched on it enough. But that is allowed. The police are allowed so much deception to try to get more information, a confession, whatever. Is Bridge Guy altered? The police are allowed a lot of leeway in trying to solve a case. Bring two people in and, tell one of them, they're both guilty, but they're both not talking about it. You tell one, well, your best friend just confessed to the whole thing. We know what happened. Well, that was a lie, right? But that's allowed. And then so this guy that you're talking to is like, oh, well, if he confessed, I'm going to tell you my side of the story because it was him, not me. You see what I'm saying? It's allowed. So how much has been deception? I don't know. I know Doug Carter knows, and I think that is why he speaks in riddles sometimes, because it's he's allowed to do it. I think he has his reasons. I don't know that he's covering up anything. Like I said last video, he seems like a nice guy. I could be wrong. And we'll see. The further I dive into Indiana, the history, the less I'm convinced that there's not a whole lot of cover-up going on. And I'll probably do a whole video on that. But let's go on to respond. Okay, Deborah said, you need to read Dr. Mozella Martin's handwriting analysis on Richard Allen. I am not sure that I didn't read hers. I watched a lot of videos on handwriting analysis about 3 weeks ago. And at first, when I was looking at someone break down his handwriting, I thought, oh, wow, yeah, that shows guilt, right? Then I watched a program where these three analysts, and they do a lot of videos together, they decided to do a test. So they had each of them do analysis on the same handwriting, and they recorded their interpretation, and they had already written it out. They read out their interpretation. And in these three experts, okay, all three of them had a different opinion. It was like night and day. Do I believe in handwriting analysis? Yes, I believe that it can show us a lot of things. But I also believe that it depends on the frame of mind, I think, that somebody is writing, in Richard Allen's handwritten plea to the judge for legal assistance. You have to know he's under extreme stress, fear. He's got people yelling at him from the other cells, threatening him. And for the sake of argument, let's say he's innocent. Whether he's innocent or guilty, let's just put it this way. He's under a lot of stress, okay? So I don't think you can make a determination in a circumstance like that. I think the only way that you could do a handwriting analysis, and again, just like the bullet, it's going to be open to interpretation, but is to look at samples of his handwriting over the past, 5-6 years. Now, what would be a telltale sign to me is if after 2017, after the murders, if his handwriting changed drastically. Because now we know that it does change if somebody has a head injury, somebody has a trauma, a big change going on in their life. A lot of times their handwriting will change dramatically. So that would be something to look at. And if it has, then that is a defense, move, I think. That's what I would do. I'd be reaching for straws because, in my opinion, they don't have a whole lot. All right. Scott Perkins says, weird stuff going on in that little town. Yes. And the more like I said, the more I look into it, the more I'm like, what the, it's just, it's crazy. And I'm sorry, I cannot find your comment. I thought I screenshotted it and I didn't. A person, a few days ago, you made a comment on here somewhere that said something about the Ventnors versus Carroll County case, and this was back in the 1990s. So I did look that up. I looked at all of the court records, and look, there's a lot going on in Carroll County, and this whole case is a big hot mess. Jennifer Ventnors kind of had the same situation as Mike Thomas, okay? Demoted, but it goes really into depth about some of the nastiness, I think, that happened. Now, the players today, because this is 20 years ago, the players today aren't the same, but interestingly enough, they're related, which doesn't mean, I wouldn't want somebody to base, my thoughts and what I would do on what my mama or my cousin or whatever would do. So, I'm not holding them accountable to that, but it kind of shows you a pattern. So if you want to hear me talk about the Jennifer Ventnors case and go into that, comment below. Otherwise, you can look it up. Jennifer Ventnors versus Carroll County. Very interesting stuff. Very weird. Okay, Danielle Reed said, I'm waiting to hear the evidence. We're in the minority thinking this way. Yes, we are. Most people have made up their minds that Richard Allen is a murderer. The prosecutor said that there were more players, and I think that one of those players committed the actual murder. So do I. Even if Richard Allen is involved, I don't think he's the murderer, but that's just my opinion. Allen was charged with murder because of the kidnapping charge. Yes, leading the girls to the murder is all they need to prove. He won't get a fair trial. No, I don't think he'll get a fair trial. Unless there are people questioning. This is why. I'm getting a lot of hate from some of y'all. That's okay. I don't care. I have one goal here. Because like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not even really a modern crime person, or I wasn't until now, and now I'm armpits deep. So here we go. Buckle up. We're on this roller coaster. What I want to stop is the herd mentality, okay? Because historically, it is very, very flawed. I mean, you want me to talk about the Innocence Project? You want me to talk about the statistics of FBI screw-ups in the state of Indiana? It's like at the 90s percentile, okay? Innocent people have been executed. They're incarcerated. And here's the thing. What I want you to do is think. Okay, that's all. You don't have to agree with me. I don't care. But if you look at this evidence and you are saying, you know what, I agree with law enforcement. I think they've got the right guy. And it's because you have researched or you have listened to a lot of different opposing views and you still come up with that. That's fine. That's good. Yay for you. What I'm trying to say is, don't believe something because that's the narrative that they're spilling out to you. Because you don't know. I don't know. All I'm saying is I'm questioning everything. I'm looking at all sides of it. I'm looking into the deep, dirty details and some of the tentacles that Doug Carter talked about. That's what I'm just trying to make you think. Think for yourself and come up with something that, right or wrong. It's okay to be wrong. Oh, by the way, speaking of being wrong, I meant to do this last video. The notes of the city council meeting that I said were missing. And several of you brought this up. The last one that brought it up was Chemo Sabi. If you can find the comments, I don't know if it's he or she, read the comments between us. Very interesting. I'll just say that. But Shane Evans was actually in Frankfurt at their city council meeting. And so there would not be notes from the 13th, which I understand. I, still kind of wonder what happened. But, so that part, he has an alibi. Just for any of you who are, wondering if it was him. Other cases, let me just say this, MyOB, I know you followed me from my original channel to this new one, and thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate your comments. You've always been a supporter. And MyOB asked me to do the Idaho 4, which I have been following. And I have some definite opinions on that. Probably not the most popular ones. I don't know. It's a theory. I have a theory. And I argued with my daughter about this one yesterday. And I think it's valid. So yes, I will be doing that one very soon. Again, Jennifer Ventners, if you want to hear that one, I will do that one for you. One more thing I want to add. I know we're getting long on here. Let's talk about the magic bullet. Yeah. This is what doesn't sit right with me. Back long before Richard Allen was a suspect, okay? This is when his file was, misfiled in Neverland, wherever it was. When they had to get a probable cause to search Ron Logan's property, there was no mention of a bullet, okay? If you were at a crime scene, I see a bullet, an unspent bullet, that is going to be something I am looking for. Like, that would be the main thing, wouldn't it? I mean, think about this. I'm looking for DNA evidence. If I've got any at the crime scene, I'm looking for anything that can tie Ron Logan to the deaths of these people. If I know that there is a bullet that's right there 2 feet from the bodies, it's going to be in the probable cause. I want to see your firearms. I want to know if you've got the same type of gun. But yet, it's not in there. The bullet is not in that probable cause. It's not mentioned. Why not? Where did this bullet come from? 6 years later, we have a magic bullet. Which, that's going to be completely undone in court. I have no doubt that the jury is not, unless public pressure and preconceived notions have anything to do with it, that bullet is going to be hotly contested, and I don't think that it's going to be an issue. However, what is an issue is, why didn't we know about this bullet when you were searching Ron Logan's property? Because to me, this bullet just, went poof. Hello, here I am. And now you match a gun that by ISP, if you listen to Doug Carter, there's a video out there where he's talking about this particular gun. Actually, it was the P227, not the 226, where they're saying that Richard Allen's was. But Doug Carter's talking about, it has nothing to do with the crime. He's just talking about, in general, how that gun is heavily used by law enforcement, and that he feels like it is something that will go long into the future. It has, I guess, great features, whatever. It is a heavily used law enforcement weapon. And don't think that's not going to come up at trial. Because how easy would it be for law enforcement? Well, law enforcement was everywhere, all over the crime scene. Now you've got a bullet. Yeah, Richard Allen has one of these guns, but so does law enforcement. How are you going to prove? Because those markings on there, unspent bullet, not gonna stand. So to me, I'm looking at this thinking, okay, the witnesses only put him at the first platform. I'm not. Again, I'm not saying Richard Allen is innocent, but what I'm saying is I don't know that he's guilty. Okay? Here's the things. So what tips the scales? Because you have evidence for both. Sometimes motive, And, okay, so they've got him on the bridge by his own admission wearing similar clothes to Bridge Guy. But they don't have him at the crime scene. I mean, there wasn't that many people, but there could have been 1,000 people on that bridge. But if you can't tie him to the crime scene, then you've got nothing. Oh, but now we've got a bullet. Wow. Never showed up in 6 years, but now we've got a bullet. That places Richard Allen, hypothetically, to the crime scene. That's suspicious to me. And it just seems a little convenient. Again, I don't know. Maybe he's guilty. Maybe he's guilty of sin. And if he is, I want to see him prosecuted just like you do. I want justice for these girls. I want justice for everybody, though. Because here's the thing. When you buy into this herd mentality and you're just like, oh, it's, whatever law enforcement says is golden. And he's definitely, I can tell by the way his picture looks, he's evil. Well, you can't. First of all, you can't. So what happens if you want to keep in this mentality? What happens when it's your family or your best friend's family or something else? And all of a sudden, we've got a whole herd mentality of they're saying, well, law enforcement said, and of course they're right. But if it's my kid, if it's my mom or dad, my cousin, my best friend, and I know that they didn't do this, but yet the whole world says they did, and now they've got this evidence, I don't want to be part of that herd. I don't want anybody to be part of that herd where you're just going to convict somebody. Run Kathy Allen out of town. I'd leave too. But, and that's for safety. But here we are in this ridiculous mess because people don't think. So I'm just saying think. If you come up with the same conclusion as Ellie, that's fine. That's fine. But make sure that you did it because you truly believe that, not because somebody fed you a bowl of stuff and you just ate it up. One more thing, and I promise I'm gonna close on this one. Back to the profile. Richard Allen did not do any of the things that the profile said he would. He did not leave. Okay, he didn't change his job. He admitted he was there. He didn't change his clothes. Did he throw away the jacket? No. Did he change his appearance? No. But these are things that the profilers say are going to happen. Go back through the videos. See who did change their appearance. I'm just going to leave it there. You can look back. Look at all the Delphi videos for the last 5 years. You'll see changes. I mean, everybody gets a new haircut once in a while, but there are some significant changes, in my opinion. I just don't think. Now, the only way that I would say R.A. is guilty, even without doing all these things, is he would have to be a true narcissist. And a true narcissist is going to believe that they're untouchable. They'll even, kind of toy with law enforcement, which could be argued in this case because he did come right out and say, hey, I was there. Never changed anything. Now, only Kathy Allen really would know, or his best friend or whatever, who could give a long-standing history. Can you say to me that Richard Allen, has a history of narcissistic behavior, gaslighting people? Is he controlling? That kind of stuff. If he is, okay, that's why he didn't change anything. Otherwise, if you're not a guilty person, why change something? If I commit a crime, Even if I'm just at the scene with a gun and I don't even realize I've lost a bullet, I am going to destroy every bit of evidence that ever could possibly tie me to that area. My clothes are going to be burned. My gun is going to be, it's going to disappear. Think about it. Think about it. That's all I'm saying is there are things to think about. I want to give a shout out to, I've said it before, the Evil CJ Concept. He is on live stream every evening, and we'll go over, we do a lot of the Idaho stuff. Justice Served Daily is another great channel. Justice and I were on CJ's program last Sunday night, I think that's the 11th. So, yeah, there was just a lot of nonsense talk, but we did talk Delphi. And here's the thing. When you go to CJ's live, there are all kind of people in there. We have differing opinions, okay? But strangely enough, we can have different opinions and not get angry or upset with each other. It's just sharing of ideas. Imagine that. A place where you can speak and nobody gets all upset about it. So I'm going to leave a link below. Don't let the name throw you. CJ he's not evil. His voice is actually very soothing, and he is such a kind-hearted person. Justice, she's hilarious, and she is spunky like I am, so I don't know, we might get on your nerves. Anyway, I will leave a link below to both of their channels, and I am going to leave right now, but comment below, let me know. Do you want to hear some of these other stories? Do you know? And, one of you, again, can't find the comment, you know who you are. Please, you can email me if you don't want to do it on where everybody can see it. Somebody was talking about an exchange of $10,000 from one person to another. I didn't hear from you again, but you may not want to put that public. I get that. I get it. I would love to know. Anyway, I hope you all have a great week. We don't have to agree, okay? I'm not going to hate on you. Be nice. You don't know. I don't know. We are all just trying to find the truth, and I hope that you will continue to dig for the truth, not the narrative. Anyway, hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.